This is Robert Gibbon from Positive Strokes, staying clean. I hope that all of you are in your right frame of mind because you're clean and sober. My hats are off to you. Uh, I want to talk about something today, and that's trauma. Yes, trauma. You know that when we have a situation that causes massive stress and overwhelms us mentally, that is trauma. When the trauma hits us, our minds goes in protective mode and tries to protect us from this trauma that is hurting us. Some people acted in a certain way, so it affects some people in a different way. But every person, it affects differently on how they handle it. The good news is that once you identify your trauma and you work to deal with the fear, deal with the situation, and to come to some type of understanding about the trauma to move forward. And it takes time. It takes time when you have trauma. But the point I'm trying to make with you is that if you don't work on that trauma will get reactivated and your mind will get defensive and you'll probably try the same program to help yourself deal with the trauma. But once we identify the trauma, we accept what happens to us, forgive the person for putting this situation in our hands and causing us this type of pain, we're letting it go. We're not holding on to it anymore because the trauma, if you hold on to it, if you're constantly feeling those feelings, if you're constantly looking at the pain that it caused you, you will not move past it, but you will live the trauma over and over again when the circumstances fits that situation. Now, this is just my point of view because I've dealt with some major traumas in my life. And it didn't go away. It didn't get better quickly. It took time for me to come to some type of understanding about this trauma and to face my fears and overcome it. It's like you have a major operation. Then after the operation, you have to go through physical therapy and learn how to use a lot of things over again because of the operation. It's like the body forgot how to use these things. And we had to reset it and reprogram our brains and get our bodies and our minds to work together about this situation and work the same way it did before the operation. And that's the same thing with a trauma. We have to teach ourselves how to face our fears, face our situations, and overcome them, and don't let them destroy us or bring us back down the rabbit hole, feeling the same type of feeling that the trauma gave us in the first place. These things that I'm talking about, I learned them from keeping the focus on myself and working a program of recovery. Because I knew if I didn't learn everything I can about Robert, then Robert won't get better. If I didn't understand the mistakes that Robert made, Robert wouldn't get better. If Robert did not face his trauma, Robert would have never got better. If Robert didn't own up to the mistakes he made, Robert wouldn't got better. And the longer I'm in the program of recovery, the more I learn how much less power I have and how much I got to keep myself on track to be a better person. That means what Sarah Joan and her husband doing across the street, I have no right to try to dictate their home. I don't. They have to find a way so they can live their best lives for themselves. Just like I have to find the best way to live my life so I can live my best life. I have to stay pointed on Robert. Now, if I know what's going on, because I pay attention to the surrounding, what surrounds me, around me, where I live, the people I come in contact with, I pay attention. And that is to protect myself, because if their behavior is not the way I live my life, then I don't have to associate with that person or bring that negativity into my life or cause me to work on you instead of working on me. I can help by giving you what has worked for me in these circumstances. I can give you monetary help. But if I give you monetary help and you keep being on the same situation over and over again, that means to you, that's telling me that you're not making good sound judgment on how you handle your money. So I can't keep giving you my hard-earned money while you throwing it in the wind and expecting it not to blow away. If you're not making sound judgments on how do you handle your money, you have to find a way. But I'm not in a position to be that person to give you all the money I can so you can eventually find your way. Each person can live the life that they want. It's all up to them. The way they treat themselves, what they do for themselves, how they act under the circumstances, the way they live their life, the way they keep their home, their apartment, their house, how they pay their bills, when they pay their bills, that's their lifestyle, not yours. They choose to live it a certain way, and that's good for them. But what's good for them may not be good for Robert. And I don't have the right, because I'm not perfect, to tell somebody else how to run their program. Because I'm not perfect. Because I don't have knowledge over everything. I'm just someone that's working on self that's learning about self and just sharing what I'm learning, what I'm going through, how I'm dealing with situations, how I'm working on my recovery. That's all. I created Positive Stroke, Staying Clean, for a reason. And the reason I created it is, well, the simple fact is that I wanted to share the step work. I wanted to share about detox. I wanted to share about the recovery, being in the program. I wanted to share about being in a relationship in the program, being out from the program and being in the real world and being clean and sober, the pitfalls, ups and downs, and how to keep yourself positive. I wanted to share that. That's why I created these videos. But it's just my point of view. It's just the way what works for me. And how I found out what works for me is that meant I dug into the program of recovery. I dug in to listen to what people said. I listened to people share their stories. I listened to when they talked about certain situations and how they dealt with them. And I took a piece of everything that I've heard and incorporated it into my world, which works for me. Like they tell me in the program, take what you hear and use it, but leave the rest there. And that's what I do. If I hear some information that's beneficial to me, I take it. I'll use it. If you ever notice on Facebook, on my pages, when I see a person makes a certain statement that makes sense to me, that I agree with, I'll post it. When people were sharing they shared their how long they've been clean and sober, I made a video about it to let people know that it is possible, that these people are proud of expressing themselves on social media, letting everybody know I'm an addict and I'm clean and sober and I'm living a good life. And that's what they're saying. My life is way better than what it was. I got something to be proud of. I'm not ashamed. See, when I was in my addiction kept me ashamed. When life wasn't treating me right and I kept falling down and I kept falling down, and I kept the focus and blame myself. Until the program of recovery says I must separate the facts from the feelings. And once I separate the facts and the feelings, there are a lot of the mistakes that were made wasn't on me. I understood what part I played in it and what part the other person played in it. And I learned from that because I finally got to see things clearly. When I was in my active addiction, everything that I was getting blamed, a lot of stuff I was getting blamed for that I didn't even do. But my shame and my guilt about being addicted and using and abusing drugs, I accepted like it was my fault because I was punishing myself. Because that was a place that I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to be addicted. I didn't want to hurt people. That wasn't my nature. But my addiction and my trauma made me be that person that I wasn't. And I had to find that out. That let me know just how bad the trauma hit me. That how bad the situation took control over me. Because I learned about Robert. In order for to recover from active addiction and live your best life, you have to know who you are, why you do the things that you do, why you make the mistakes that you do, why you picked up in the first place. What part did you play in the trauma or the bad situation that happened in your life? Are you ready to take responsibility for your actions in part of your addiction? Because that's what recovery is all about. Okay, look, I'm going to leave recovery alone for a second. And we talked about the trauma. And I want to shift it to relationship. You're in a relationship, and neither one of you are perfect. Neither one of you. You both love each other, but you both make mistakes. So that should humble you to try to understand what you do to cause situation to go negative on you. What part did you play? Because when we make someone that we love feel less than, if we treat someone we love like they can't get it together, if we treat someone we love like they're in the way, how do you expect them to react? How would you react if you was treated that way? Something to think about. But when you care for somebody, you want to find out what's best for them, what they think is best for them, what their goals are, what they want to try to achieve. Find out what hurt them to be defensive in that particular situation. How can you make them reach their dreams and their goals? Because I'm a firm believer, if my wife helps me reach my goal and I help her to reach her goal, we both benefit. We both benefit. We benefit separately and we benefit together because we worked as a team to create our own empire. See, when you make a decision and say, this is going to be my partner for life, this is going to be my wife, this is going to be my husband, I'm making it sound in front of friends, family, and strangers that this is who I want to be with, and I'm making a public announcement to everybody, then it's about y'all. Ain't about your sister, ain't about your brothers, ain't about your mama, ain't about your daddy. You're saying that this is my family. This is the family that I am creating. This is the life that I am creating with this person. So both of y'all should work together as one, because if you work on helping your partner and your partner works on helping you, then you get double the benefits. You both benefit. You benefit, one, because you're doing something that's making your life better financially, because your partner helped you along the way to get to that point. And your partner helped you along the way to get to that point. So both of y'all are working together to create your own empire. And that's that's the way it's supposed to be. In recovery, to stay in recovery, you associate with like people in recovery. But also, you should be able to socialize with regular people too. It's just like I remember this years ago, a friend of mine he had a birthday party and it was at a bar. And I'm a recovering addict, and I went to the birthday party. No, I ain't drink. I ain't get high. I ain't drink. But it was fun to me. I had a nice time, but also I see how when your person has too much to drink or they a little bit too high, how they talk and how they act and how they truly sell on themselves. And I remember back when I was in my active addiction, and I had to laugh because when I thought nobody knew that I was high and fucked up, excuse my expression, but high and toe back. But everybody knew. I thought nobody knew because I was covering it up. But that's a lie. I found out a hard truth that, it shows. You just think nobody don't see it. It's just like years ago, police officer pulled me over in Mesa, Arizona, and I just pulled out the Circle K. I'll never forget it. I was on my way to work, and he said to me, I thought that was you. He says, you look a whole lot better than what you used to do. I remember when you was, I guess, homeless, high as a kite. I ain't mess with you because you wasn't bothering nobody. You was just toe up all the time. And I thought nobody knew. He said, but I'm glad you got yourself together. You have a good old day. It made me think. How? When I was smoking an ounce of cocaine in a 24-hour period for 18 months, I didn't look like I had a whole bunch of weight on me. I was bones, skin and bones. And my skin was always shining. All the drugs I had in my system was coming out, my pores. And I thought I got it going on. But I didn't. And that's what my addiction told me. And this was after I had some years that this officer met me, pulled me over. So, and it's so funny. And it made me think. And let me know just how stupid I really was in my addiction. I learned something more about myself when I was in my addiction. And as time keeps going by, I learned a little bit more about myself while I was in an addiction. And that the reason is because my mind suppressed a lot of stuff over the years. And some of it comes back. And it comes back at, I guess, intervals. It's like peeling the onion. layer by layer. And there's a lot of times that I come across stuff that hits me hard, with tears come to my eyes because I get to play back in my mind some just horrendous and crazy stuff that I did. And the tears will run down my face. Or I might be watching a movie and that trauma on the movie with that person's handling is almost the same trauma that I've been through, which causes tears to come to my eyes. So what recovery is doing is peeling the layer of the hardness, the hard shell off. That was my protective mode. I didn't have time enough to feel. I didn't have time enough to cry. All I had time enough was to survive. I was just surviving, sleeping when I can, eating. But any medical problems, I would self-medicate myself along with getting high. So, learning about yourself will change who you are. If you look at yourself honestly, openly, and willing to do what you need to do to live your best life. This is Robert Jones for Positive Strokes. Remember, you are your own hero. You've done the work. You're working on self. But I want you to know that for me, it's a lifelong process. The only way I win in recovery is to die, living my best life clean and sober. You have a great and wonderful day.